a a a boot. I don't know. What's Canadian? I'm Canadian. That's it. Hello, bonjour. My name is Heather. Welcome back to my channel. So you may have heard of the Shop Canadian movement. If you don't know what that movement is or why it is happening, a perfume channel is maybe not the place to go for that information. I would go to a trusted news source that is as impartial as possible. Anyways, it's currently March 12th. So things seem to be changing pretty hourly. I'm filming this obviously a couple weeks in advance. I don't know what the future looks like. Things could be very different in a couple of weeks when this airs. We'll see. If you're looking to get into Canadian brands for whatever reason, please keep watching. I'm going to go over some brands, sort of like their prices, any of their fragrances that I have smelled or have samples of here to smell. We're going to go over that. I'm also going to mention for each brand, I'm going to mention a scent that I would be particularly interested in trying. Below, I'm going to link a bunch of discovery kits so that we can all smell together. Also, just want to say, important part of being Canadian is, and at least for me, is reconciliation. I am in Toronto. I'm from Toronto, and that is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples. I'm very grateful that I live here and I get to be here. Chimigwech. Thank you. Okay, so another caveat to all of these things. If you are Canadian and you're shopping within Canada for Canadian perfumes, there's still a chance that the price may rise a little bit just based on the cost of materials. They might have some American materials in their fragrances. The prices might go up because of that, because of the tariffing. That's just what it is. So that's just sort of like a thing to keep in mind. First perfume brand I wanted to talk about is Meleg Perfumes. Perfumer is Matthew Meleg. Meleg Perfumes has committed to absorbing the cost of tariffing onto the brand and not bringing it to the consumer. I saw a little post that Matthew did on Facebook in some perfume groups I'm in. I believe that information is also on the website. The only little sample I have right now of Meleg is a scent called Winter Melon. Yeah, Winter Melon is really like nice. Like it smells like not like a watermelon Jolly Rancher, but more so just like a fresh green sort of watermelon. It's a really pretty scent. So that's one I have. In doing research for this video, I looked at all of the websites and stuff, and I sort of picked out like a scent that I would be excited to try. Berry, cherry, rose, chocolate, patchouli. It's got cherry and lychee and rose, chocolate. Sounds really, really interesting. I might have to get my nose on that. So a couple things to know about the brand. These scents are more on, I would say, the higher end price range. They're ranging anywhere from somewhere in the $200 to $450 range. So they're quite pricey. They're very niche and high end. Another thing to know, in case that is important to you, that Meleg occasionally will use real animal products. So they'll use things like real civet. Most civet you see in perfumes now is a chemical. It doesn't really come from the animal. Meleg does occasionally use real animal scents, and that is just something to keep in mind. Second brand I want to talk about is Paraphrase. They are formerly known as Libertine. The perfumer is Joshua Smith. They are blended, bottled, and labeled in Canada, specifically Edmonton, Alberta, in small batches of 100. Another thing to know is that they are Leaping Bunny certified, which means there's no cruelty to animals, which is great. I haven't smelled a lot from this brand. I have smelled Smoked Bloom, and that was pretty okay. Something that I would be really excited to try from this brand would be Eros Fig. It's sort of got like blackcurrant and sandalwood and honey. It sounds really interesting, and I'll need to get my hands on that. I would also say that these folks are probably like mid-range in price. A 50 ml bottle goes for about $200 Canadian. So still pretty expensive, but like not as expensive as some of the other ones on this list. Third Canadian brand I'm going to talk about is Piper and Perro. The perfumer is Tom Jansen. This is one of the Canadian brands that I have in my collection. I own Piper and Perro's Froth. So Piper and Perro has two sort of lines. They have like a core line of, I believe, 4 fragrances that has like a bottle that's differently shaped from these, and these are the bottles for their limited edition scents. They come out with limited editions every few months, and there are small batches of fragrances that come in, they go. So you gotta get them while you can. I think though Froth was popular enough that they have moved it to the permanent line, if I'm not mistaken. So you're able to get this, like a very soft bubble tea inspired scent. So it's a little floral. It's a little soft. You certainly can get like a taro powder kind of thing if you've ever worked with bubble teas, like taro powder. It's sort of like got like a particular scent to it that you can definitely pick up. Yeah, and it's really beautiful. So that's one I actually have in my collection. This is Petal. Petal is very much sort of like inspired by like road trips, I believe. So it sort of like smells like a little bit leathery, a little bit like more like suede leathery. You've been in a like kind of like a hot car a little bit. It's one of those your skin but better fragrances. It's got red berries, gardenia, jasmine petals, honey, smoked sandalwood, sun-kissed skin. So those are the things that I have sort of smelled from Piper and Perro. Another fragrance that I would be interested in trying would be Berg. It is part of their core line. It's sort of got aquatic notes and sea salt and coconut water, very like watery, like aquatic type fragrance. And I'm into aquatic fragrances, so I would love to smell this at some point. I would say that Piper and Perro scents are a bit more affordable than some of the other things on this list. They run a full-size bottle will run you about $125. So it's like a pretty standard price for like a designer type style fragrance. Next up is a very, very well-known brand that you see a lot on social media, and that is the Seven Virtues. The Seven Virtues is a Canadian brand based out of Halifax. They're very accessible. You can find them at Sephora. Their perfumes are, I would say, a pretty standard price for like a lot of designer fragrances. They're also about like $125-ish. Seven Virtues was founded by, of course, Barb Stegman. Previously, their main focus was on sustainably sourced ingredients from nations rebuilding after war strife. Currently, they're focused on ending period poverty globally. It started as a book called The Seven Virtues of a Philosopher Queen that Barb Stegman wrote. There's also like a movie called The Perfume War, which I didn't know. That's kind of interesting. I might check that out. Another cool thing is these guys are also Leaping Bunny certified, so no cruelty to animals. And if you're in Halifax, there's a really cool like atelier you can visit where like you can take all the different Seven Virtues fragrances and sort of mix them together and make your own kind of thing, which is kind of a really cool idea. I have quite a few Seven Virtues fragrances here, both in sample and bottle form. So I personally own a bottle of Cherry Ambition. This is a cherry and saffron scent. I would say that like this gets touted in like the sort of like, oh, it's a cherry scent kind of thing, that like cherries are very popular, we all know. But for me, this actually it's more of a saffron forward scent with like a cherry underneath it. Like the saffron for me is very, very prominent in this. And the saffron is almost to the point of being leathery, but like doesn't quite get there. It's a really beautiful scent. It's great for fall and winter. I love this scent a lot. I also wear Seven Virtues during the summer with Coconut Sun. This is your standard, very like beachy tropical scent. It's like coconut and tropical and beachy. This, out of all my entire collection, is the best scent to wear when it's like 40 degrees out. It really shines in the high heat. It's beautiful. So I also have a couple of samples going on. I have a sample of Vanilla Woods, which is a very, very popular scent of theirs. I would say it starts out with like a sort of caramelized pear scent and then gets very, very woody. I would say that this is maybe not a blind by safe one. I will say it's not one of my favorites because for some people the woods can get more like ashtray, which unfortunately it does for me, but like the opening is very pretty. Another decant I have from them is their Amber Vanilla scent. Yeah, it's very much one of those your skin but better kind of fragrances. I also have a sample of Candied Lychee. This came out last year. Yeah, and Candied Lychee is a very, very, very bright, happy, juicy candied lychee. It's very strong and syrupy, and it's a really, really beautiful scent. It's delightful. And then finally, I have a decant of the current Clementine Dream. This is their latest fragrance, and this is very much an orange creamsicle kind of scent. It's citrusy and bright. It's got like kind of like a vanilla creamy thing underneath, and it's really pretty, and it's going to be great in summer. I cannot wait to wear it. I have tried a lot of Seven Virtues, but I will say I haven't got my nose on Lotus Pear yet. And Lotus Pear is one that I would love to try. All right, the next fragrance company that we're going to be talking about is Universal Flowering. Their perfumer is Courtney Raffoos. sorry, Courtney, if I'm pronouncing your last name incorrectly. Yeah, they started the brand, and it's formulated through the lens of synesthesia, which is kind of like a cool thing. I would say they're also probably pretty like mid-range in terms of price. I do have one sample here. This is Saffron Flower. And this is a very saffron forward fragrance. It's like saffron, and it's got a bit of like a green undertone going on, at least to my nose. Of their fragrances, I took a look, and the one that I would be most excited to smell would be this fragrance here called Burst, another fragrance brand that is Canadian. They are from Vancouver. This is Untamed. The perfumer is Sunyata Smith. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Sunyata. They are inspired by a love of the wild landscapes of the Canadian West Coast. So, like, they have perfumes like called like the Salish Sea and things like that. They are blended, compounded, bottled, labeled by hand in Vancouver. They're also mid-range in price. Of all of these scents that I looked at, I'd be most excited to try Blackbird. I have a special connection to Blackbirds, so I don't need to get into that here, but that's sort of why I want to try that one. That's a little, not really, everybody's got their reasons, right? Final brand I wanted to talk about is also a very, very popular niche brand, and that is Zoologist. Zoologist was founded by Victor Wong. Their home base is here in Toronto. I have smelled quite a few Zoologist fragrances. I've tried Bee and Cow and Snowy Owl and T-Rex. T-Rex has gotten a lot of hype, apparently with middle school boys. Don't know why, but it's just something I've heard. So some samples that I have of Zoologist fragrances that we can smell together now. This is Penguin. This is very much like, I would say, like, kind of falls into like the blue barbershop-y kind of fragrances. At least to my nose, it smells a little bit like aftershave. The Penguin is sort of the inspiration for this, right? So it's sort of like cool and cold, a little bit leathery. Yeah, it's a really interesting scent. And I would say Penguin is a great representation of that. All of their fragrances are inspired by the animal world. The other scent I have here to smell, this is Rabbit. And Rabbit is, I would say Rabbit is a gourmand fragrance. It's sort of like got like a carrot cake sort of vibe, but it's more of a like a green gourmand. Got like a bit of carrot, bit of like kind of like a hay thing going on, but also is a little bit sweet. And Rabbit is a great name for it. So for Zoologist, what I would be most excited to try is they have a Beaver Maple Edition, which seems particularly Canadian given the whole Canadian Mountie Beaver vibe. So why not end up on a very, very Canadian note? There is an honorable mention to this video. I have been told that both Jean-Marc Paris and Michel Germain fragrances are Canadian. I mention this because Jean-Marc Paris fragrances are, I found them a lot in the $21.99 section at Shoppers. You know. So they show up, apparently they are Canadian. Michel Germain, which does the Sugarful line that I own several of, and does like a couple other lines like Sexual and that kind of thing. They are apparently also Canadian as well, although the reason why I'm saying that this is honorable mention is information is a little bit unclear online. Some places list them as American, some places list them as Canadian. I couldn't quite nail down exactly what they are, so I wanted to mention them because they are very, very affordable options, but like also I'm not 100% certain on that. But if you have any idea, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know, because those are much more affordable options than a lot of the ones that I was talking about today, and that would be great for everybody to know. That is a couple of Canadian brands you can look into if you are shopping Canadian, or just because a lot of these are really excellent brands just to smell. I'm going to link to a bunch of discovery kits down below so you can maybe try them out for yourself. I would love to know, have you tried any of these brands? Do you know of any other Canadian brands that we should all be knowing about? I would love to hear more. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.